I'm pretty sure there's a piece of candy still stuck in my talit. Someone got me. I met Rabbi Shua Brick before either of us had rabbi in front of our names. We were classmates in the Wexner Graduate Fellowship. I, a Reform rabbinical student from Hebrew Union College. He, an Orthodox rabbinical student from Yeshiva University. Though we would have never met under any other circumstances, and though our approaches to Jewish philosophy and praxis were very different, we deeply respected each other's commitments to furthering the Jewish project through our respective denominations, and we soon became close friends as well. 2 years later, I was one of a handful of people who knew Shua's most dangerous truth, that he was gay. If the wrong people found out, this brilliant, kind, creative, funny, and open-minded person would never become a rabbi for his own community, as Yeshiva University would refuse to ordain him on the grounds of his sexual orientation, which, according to a narrow traditional interpretation of Leviticus 18:22, is considered a violation of halakha, of Jewish law. And though the modern Orthodox world has become much more open to including LGBTQ plus folks as part of the community, the same, unfortunately, does not apply to those who would lead it. A gay Orthodox rabbi is generally considered to be an oxymoron. But thanks to Shua's careful curation of real allies, people who were willing to guard his secret with their lives and simultaneously work to undermine the system that would keep Shua out of the rabbinate and out of a job, he was hired by an Orthodox congregation in California that quietly confirmed they would accept him. And once he received his smicha, his rabbinic ordination, from YU in 2021, he came out publicly, and in so doing, Rav Shua Brick officially became the first openly gay Orthodox rabbi to serve as clergy in a congregation, and was even accepted for membership in the Orthodox Rabbinical Union. What my friend Rav Shua has already achieved is remarkable and inspiring, and will make an enormous impact on the physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being of the Orthodox LGBTQ plus community. But it's still only the beginning of a long road to full acceptance, one that is not limited to the Orthodox community. As heartrending statistics remind us year after year, LGBTQ plus individuals face outsized rates of discrimination, and being part of an accepting family or community is literally a matter of life and death for so many. Now, in order to move the needle within his own sphere, Rav Shua, who, like me, is also an educator in a pluralistic day school, has been developing a brilliantly creative curriculum of Talmud study that addresses LGBTQ plus issues within a traditional halachic framework by breaking them down into theoretical component parts, avoiding the thorny traditional prohibitions in favor of issues that affirm queer identities as positive and full of possibility. And so, in honor of Pride Month this year, I'm honored to get to teach some of this boundary-breaking Torah that I've learned from my friend and teacher, Rav Shua. So one of Rav Shua's lessons centers on a dilemma that we actually encountered at the beginning of this year. When Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbat, halakha rules that one does not sound the shofar, even though, as we read in the Talmud in Tractate Rosh Hashanah 29b, by Torah law, one is permitted to sound the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, even on Shabbat. Rava elucidates that it was the sages, the early rabbis, who decreed that it was prohibited. Here's why. One of the rabbis, Rabbah, said, all are obligated to sound the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, but not all are experts in sounding the shofar. Therefore, the sages instituted a decree that the shofar should not be sounded on Shabbat, lest one who doesn't know how to sound the shofar should take a shofar in their hand and go to an expert to learn how to sound it or have them sound it for them, and due to their preoccupation, they might carry it 4 cubits into the public domain, which is a desecration of Shabbat. In other words, here we have a super specific situation. It's Rosh Hashanah, one of the biggest holidays of the year. Some person wakes up in the morning and goes, yikes, I forgot to get my High Holy Day tickets, even though TBE sent me like 1 million emails about it with a very reasonable deadline, and now it's Rosh Hashanah and I have to fulfill the mitzvah of hearing the shofar. I happen to have a shofar right here in my house, but I don't know how to play it, so maybe I'll take a walk around the neighborhood and find someone who does and ask them to do it so I can hear it. Okay, right? Fairly improbable. This is a very specific situation. They forget to go to services, but they have a shofar. They take the thing in search of a person who doesn't have a shofar but can play it. Oh, and it also just so happens to be that Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbat this year. It's almost absurd. But here's the kicker. For the sake of protecting this one hapless person in this ridiculously specific situation from accidentally transgressing one rule, the sages prohibit the entire community, anyone at all, from sounding the shofar on a Rosh Hashanah Shabbat. So, while we and many others in the Reform movement have looked at this rationale and decided the situation is limited and easily fixable, and perhaps it's better to just sound the shofar after all, Rav Shua, on the other hand, sees in this ruling an inspiring rationale for radical inclusion. If, for the sake of this extreme minority, the rabbis decree that the entire community should bend to accommodate them in a pretty significant way for the sake of their well-being, Kal v'chomer, all the more so, when we're considering the well-being, the physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual safety of a large and vibrant minority, such as the LGBTQ+ community. Our sacred communities should be doing so much more to bend what is considered a norm or default, to actively work to build spaces in which different gender and sexual identities are affirmed and cherished, not merely tolerated or accommodated. Every individual in our community matters, and it is upon every single one of us to affirm their dignity and deem them worthy of protection and care. This week, we read Parshat Naso from the book of Numbers, which is best known for 3 short verses found near its end, known as the priestly benediction. God instructs the priests, "Thus shall you bless the people of Israel. Say to them, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's face shine upon you, and may God deal graciously with you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bestow favor upon you and grant you peace. Thus they shall link my name with the people of Israel, and I will bless them." In light of Rav Shua's teaching, I was particularly struck by the word yishmerecha, may God protect you, in the first line of this tripartite blessing. Yishmerecha, as with the rest of the blessing, is in the second person singular. It's addressed to an individual. And yet the blessing is intended to be delivered to the entire community all at once. We see the same balance as in the Shabbat shofar decision. The experience of the individual, the blessings, the protection, the shalom of each person is the blessing and charge of the collective. The community as a whole is only blessed through the protection of each individual within it. Like the priests of old, each one of us has the opportunity and the responsibility to be the conduit for these divine blessings in our community. So let us be inspired by the call of Shabbat Rosh Hashanah's silent shofar, a call to act on behalf of those who cannot speak up out of fear, a cry to heed the needs of the few over the norms of the many, a stirring of the soul to remind us that each and every one of us is a blessing, whether we are non-binary, trans, or cisgendered, whether we are lesbian, gay, bi, ace, or straight, whoever we are, however we love, each of us is a blessing to be cherished, affirmed, and protected. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. We have an opportunity in this moment to be conduits of blessing for each other. To be blessings, to be a blessing to each other, to bless each other. I'm going to invite us to rise together here in the sanctuary with a blessing for pride written by members of our Jewish LGBTQ+ community. I'll invite you to join together with me. Makor HaChaim, source of life, you have blessed each of us with your spirit. In your wisdom, you have made each of us a unique treasure. Wellspring of our lives, cause us to flow with courage, strength, and compassion, to live our stories openly, proudly, and joyfully. Presence of love, you embrace us with your love. May we embrace ourselves, our partners, our lovers, our friends, our children, and our dear ones with the power of your Ahava Rabbah, your unending, boundless love. Spirit of peace and wholeness, open our eyes to the gifts and blessings we offer and receive from each other. Open our hearts to welcome each other fully and truly. Open our hands to embrace, to support, to lift each other up with joy, with song, and with deep friendship. Today, as we celebrate renewal, pride, and community, let us walk together with strength, compassion, and love.
May God bless you and protect you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha.
May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom.
May God bestow favor upon you and grant you everlasting peace.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.